Hi everyone, welcome to Unscripted Coding. Today we're going to talk about automating work, automating basic things in a workplace. But before we start, let's just go back for a moment. You're in your desk job or office job, and chances are there's 1,000 things you do that can be automated. That's busy work, fairly menial, and it could be things like you keep responding to the emails, the same questions, or maybe every week you generate the same report. You want to automate that. You want to make it easier. And there are so many tools out there, like Zapier, where you can hook onto Slack or Facebook or your inbox and you output something. It's not obvious, so it's not, you get an email, you respond, something that you can do right in that tool. You might need to go through a couple steps. You get an email. You then build out a report. It's always the same report, and then you attach it back to the email and send it back. There's 2 or maybe multiple apps involved. Well, it kind of sucks if you're in a large organization because you got to go through legal, you got to go through security, finance, a bunch of different things to get this vendor approved, to be allowed to use some random software. Now, if you're in a small startup, you own the business, that's great. But I cannot believe I have never known about Power Automate before last week. It is Microsoft Flow or Microsoft's equivalent to trying to create these no-code automated solutions. And you can see just off the icons here, there's Google Drive and Gmail, there is I think that looks like Outlook. There's a file folder, Office. There are a bunch of apps. And the best thing about Power Automate is if you're in a large organization that's blocking you from using other solutions, chances are you have Office 365 already. And Office 365 has a free subscription to Power Automate. That means that it's already passed through all of those checks. You just go on powerautomate.com, log in with your Office account, and you're basically ready to go. Now, I'm going to caveat that along the way. I have right now, not my work environment, but my school environment. And that's going to have some limitations. But we're going to walk through it anyways, show you guys just how powerful it is, because you don't need to know coding to build some very sophisticated responses. You do need to have that technology mind. You do need to know your process fairly well. But other than that, keeping organized, just keeping an open mind, you don't need to know code at all. So, the other thing I wanted to just really bring up quickly is they have all sorts of different connectors and different apps on board for Power Automate. And I, being a lawyer on the side, was looking into a few of these that are specific to contracts, that is drafting legal documents. And I saw OneFlow, I saw DocJuris. These things kind of let you take in, say, an email and create a contract on the fly. What caught my eye and what I wanted to share very quickly is that DocJuris is talking about a free contract management software. Now, these things go for $20, $40, sometimes $100,000 a year, and they're saying it's free. And what they're saying is it's all built on top of Office 365, and they are basically walking you through Power Automate, connecting Office 365, Microsoft List, Microsoft Forms, Power Automate, and Power BI to give you the input, the storage, the task management, the dashboards, all of that. So you can have something very sophisticated. Now, this is not a trivial thing to set up. It is going to be quite a few stages, but what I'm trying to say is you can get some very, very, very sophisticated outcomes if you take what we're going to do in this video and add to it and build over time. So let's start. Let's just create a new workflow. They have a number of templates already where you can hook on to emails, notifications, approvals, and you can start from some of these templates that they've built in. So for example, start an approval when a file is added to SharePoint. So there is a trigger when a file is added to SharePoint, and then I don't even know what approval really means, but somewhere down the line, you're going to connect to your Office account, you're going to connect to some sort of scheduling office, and I'm basing this all on icons. I think email is generally the easiest one to understand. When you get some email attachment in Outlook, you then save it to a folder in OneDrive. That is actually incredibly important. I should look into it. But if there's a new tweet, you send an email out. A lot of these statuses, software status managers hook onto Twitter. So they'll tell you there's an outage and then you send an email out. Some of these are very self-explanatory. And of course, you have a bunch of different connectors. A lot of these ones that they mentioned right off the bat are, of course, Microsoft focused, but there are other apps instead. What I'm going to do is just start a brand new flow from blank so that we can take a look at it. There's a couple different ones. Instant cloud flow means you just click and it starts a process. So it's a manual trigger. There's one that's scheduled, so say every 3 o'clock. But I'm going to go with automated cloud flow because I think that's most interesting. There is a specific event that triggers the flow. You can see there are a ton. So OneDrive, it hooks onto OneDrive when there's a new file. When a file is deleted, you get notified, let's say, when there's an email. For me, right now, what I'm going to do is use this one. When a response is submitted, Microsoft Forms. Because I think this is one that this flow is going to show up a ton. And I am going to go forms.microsoft.com. Might be office.com. Forms.com. Here, there are a bunch of apps. Let's go with Forms. Okay, so we are going to create a new form. I have very limited imagination, so let's call it Power Automate Intake Form. We're going to add a couple new questions. This is exactly like Google Forms or even SurveyMonkey or something along those lines. And you have a bunch of different options. Now, I'm going to ask just to have a couple of choices. Today or in the future. Let's go today and future. Okay. We might have a text. Enter your name. And I'm not going to put this in here, but something that was very useful is that you can actually have a file upload question. So your intake form might say upload your report, upload your document, upload your PDF, whatever it may be. I'm going to delete that because that just opens a whole can of worms. I just want to demonstrate quickly a Microsoft form. So now that we have that, we have Power Automate Intake Form. When a new response is submitted, what we picked up in the Power Automate Intake Form, we're going to do something. And this is where you start doing next step. There are controls. So for example, we will have a condition and we are going to be able to do certain things. So I am looking at this. Oh, I'm sorry. I should delete this first. Little bit of a thing that doesn't make sense to me, but they've split it up so that Microsoft Forms, you have to actually get the details. Okay, so when a new response is submitted, all you get is a little bit to say, yes, this has been triggered, but you actually want the details from the form. So we'll take the power intake form. We're going to get the response ID. And then what we're going to do is start doing things afterwards. Now, the thing that caught my eye is this AI builder. You can start using some of these to get very basic information. You can see that Microsoft has gone very, very safe here. And I've been looking at this for a little while, but if you extract information, there's not a ton that they're extracting. Let me go with something more concrete here. You have an invoice, you throw it in their AI, they're going to try and get very standard items: amount, billing address, customer address, date, and everything comes with a confidence level because it's AI, it's not perfect. Extract key phrases. A lot of these are not perfect, is what I'm trying to say. And I want to see if OpenAI has... Yeah, that's amazing. You can put a prompt for OpenAI too. You can see this is a premium item. I will mention this a little bit later, but I wanted to go with the control first. When you have a control, you can actually split this into two different chains. And I'm going to delete this afterwards, but it's just to show you. If I decided to check the answer for today or in the future, and the value is equal to true, let's say, then it's going to go down this branch, the yes branch. And if not, it's going to go down the no branch. And you can branch this off many, many times. And this is where I was saying you can get very sophisticated because you can have thousands of conditions in this flow. But I am going to keep it stupid simple. Every time you get a response, you're going to do something. Okay, so the best one right now is Outlook, I think. You can, once you get a response, you're going to send an email. Must be going blank. Send an email. There we go. Send an email. We're going to have, we're going to be able to send specifically. Now, if you're just trying to get notified when a response happens, you might put your own email address, get it sent, let it notify. But chances are what you want to do is send an email back to the person who submitted the form. So you'll send a response to the person who submitted the form. You might say, thank you. And your body is, thank you for submitting. There are a bunch of advanced options as well. You can add an attachment. But what I wanted to do is show you guys that you can actually build a document along the way. This is where a bit of my frustration comes in. If you check out Microsoft Word, all of these are premium. Populate a Microsoft Word template, meaning you can't get it for free with Power Automate. But we're going to run around that a little bit And I don't know if I can do this demonstrably in in my um, in my school SharePoint. So what I want to do is get file content. Okay. What we're going to do is just look into the SharePoint, see if I could find a document. Let's find this. No. I don't know that there are any documents on forms. There we go. So what I see is I'm going to get a document file. And what you can do is use Word quick parts to fill in text. So what you would do is in your ribbon, and let me see if I can pull up Microsoft Word here. I can share this here. This is just a privacy policy I'm working on the side, but if you want to do quick parts, I think it's under insert, what you do is you highlight one of these words and you find quick parts and you can set it to a certain document property. Now you can save the selection to quick part gallery and create new basically fields. So in this part, I'm going to say random. And what this is going to do is every time you change the value of random, you're going to change this. So you cannot use Microsoft Word Online on a free tier. But what you can do is hook into SharePoint, find a form docx that you've placed in there previously, and modify the quick parts. What you're going to then do is SharePoint. I think you're going to change or update file properties. Okay? So we're going to use that same library. Let's go documents. And we're going to find one sec here. Might be because I'm in the wrong. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Let's delete this first. You may, but you might not want to change your standard template form. So what I'm going to do next is create a brand new file. SharePoint. Create. And we are going to create file. And I am going to go with that same library. I'm going to throw it somewhere random in that shared document. You could call it whatever you want, docx. You can actually add dynamic content. So if you want to use expressions to put dates or basically anything you can imagine in Excel. So UTC now will give you the current time. You can add hours, you can concatenate text. Let's keep it pretty simple. We are then going to add the content that we pulled out from this previous step. And so now we have a brand new file. We are then going to go into SharePoint, Properties, and we are going to update the file properties. And this was the file we just created, so item ID. Title, description, we can change those. If you had those quick parts, it would be under advanced options. And the one we did, let's say random, we would fill in something and that text would be changed. And you can actually change the dynamic content as well. Using expressions, you can say, if somebody filled out yes, you're going to have this giant long block of text. So it doesn't have to be a one-to-one what was submitted. Once we've updated it, you can go into Outlook. Send email. And that's when we had our thank you note. And under advanced options, you're going to add dynamic content. So I think we might want to get file again first. So I'm going to move this. SharePoint, get file. Get file content. I'm going to move this up above. Same site address. We are going to use that same item ID. So we get the file content. We're going to go into the email and we're going to attach that file content that we now have. This is going to look a bit odd. So let me explain what we've done here. We have caught a response when when somebody submits this form. Okay? We are going to get the response details. We then send out a thank you email to say, we've received your response. Your attachment will come soon. We then get the templated language out of SharePoint. We saved a form somewhere previously. We're going to create a temporary file that mirrors the form exactly. We then update that form with our content. And I'm realizing right now that you can use dynamic content and you can go right into the responses. So we can change it to what the answer to enter your name was. So we've updated the file properties. And then finally, we get the content of this new saved file. And then we send one last email again, this time with the attachment with the filled out form. You can actually create a bunch of other things. So if you didn't want that file to remain in SharePoint, you can delete it afterwards. Delete. And you can delete it with that same ID. All along the way, you could use those AI stuff to determine whether you wanted to put other content in. So you might ask them to extract more information, modify that information. We had that controls block that we went through before, where we can ask yes or no questions and branch out this Power Automate. And you can very much explore what other actions you can take. The big ones for me is that it sucks that Microsoft Word is hidden behind this premium feature, but Excel is not. So go. Okay. Excel Online. None of these are hidden behind a paywall. So you can get a worksheet, get a table, create it, update it exactly the same way you did here, except you didn't have to go through that file content stuff. And you can definitely, and you should definitely explore what's out there, because if I looked at contracts, we had HubSpot, We had .juris, one flow, lots of different options. Is that contact? These are contacts, so it's getting further and further from there. If you look at Slack, you can create new channels, you can post something in Slack. Oh, and these are free, so that's really helpful. I was searching up OpenAI in front of you guys because I think that's pretty awesome. OpenAI allows you to make a call to the API, and it's prompts that are completely word-based. So, for example, I could have taken the contents of that, the response. No, that's useless. I could get the content of a file in SharePoint, or somebody sent me an attachment, and then I can ask OpenAI, and I've had videos before where I say, please summarize the contents, and have it send an email back to me that says, this is the TLDR of whatever email that John Smith sent. I think that's going to be really useful. If you look more, Dataverse, I have no clue what that is, but you can hook it up to create Teams meetings. There's a lot of Azure stuff as well. So if you use DevOps, Azure Table Storage, you can interact with different things. So every time somebody from finance, not a programmer, creates this lovely Excel chart, you can use Power Automate to filter out that information and put it into your blob storage or your SQL. All of it through these kind of prompts. It's not programming, it's very much no code. And all you're going to do is save. I think I have a bunch of different errors here, so I'm going to call this up. Send it back to a responder's email. Here's the attachment. And we're going to save. What other ones I have? I need to have a name for the attachment. That makes sense. Title .x. And in fact, let me show you guys expressions. So you can see now. And you can build out a name like that. So you have something that you pulled up earlier, and then you have a function to pull out the current time. We'll save here. File name, create file, desktop.x. Okay, and that should do it. Now I'm not going to demonstrate this. I don't want to go into my course and create new files and confuse everyone. But in theory, if I click today, it's going to go through and submit, of course. Or anyone, for that matter. It's going to go through this flow, send out the right emails. And so you're going to be able to see a whole history of how you run this as well. So I hope that was helpful. I may come in and do more with this in the future, but I'm just playing around with it. And even on a basic level of all of these Microsoft apps together, you can automate a lot of stuff in your workplace. So you can be a real superstar in your workplace. If you found this helpful, please let me know. Leave a comment below, subscribe. If not, same thing, leave a comment below, and I will try and answer questions along the way. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.